Hey everybody, welcome to the reinvigorated, resurrected, and somewhat new, but not really, James Brown podcast. I'm your host Raj, and I am back after, oh man, it's been a while. 2, maybe 3 months since the end, air quotes, of this podcast. I guess for continuity, I guess we'll say that was episode 42 was the end of season 1 of JNB, and now this episode 43 will be the beginning of season 2 of JNB. Maybe just to make it easier. I said it when we ended it, and I'll say it again. This podcast isn't going away until I hit episode 100. 43 is a long ways away from 100, so I'm going to be around for a little while. Now, I'm sure some of you have some questions. As I said in the announcement video, there's a new format, just talking about new anime, although ironically I'm not talking about new anime today. So in terms of format, basically, Spencer's still gone. It is now a one-man show, at least for this episode. I am hoping to get some guests on. That would be cool. And it's going to be much more review-focused than it was before. Before, we did mostly recaps, and then reviews were very scarce, few and far in between. And not to put any blame, but that was mostly because Spencer couldn't get enough time to watch any more anime than he could in the recap. And even that was a struggle for him. So, but now that, well, it's just me. Now that it's the Raj show, I'm only working on my schedule, and therefore I can do a lot more reviews, which is what I wanted to do in the beginning. So this is going to be a throwback, I guess, to how JNB first kind of started, where we just did reviews of series. And today I chose the very first episode of the reinvigorated, reborn, resurrected James Brown podcast to talk about Kuroko's basketball. So in case you've never actually watched Kuroko, here's the general plot of it. In middle school, there was an unstoppable, undefeatable team that never lost a game. They were so good and so overpowered that they were given the nickname Generation Miracles. And there were 5 core members. There was Kisei, there was Aomine, there was Midorima, there was Murasaki Bara, and there was Akashi, who was the team captain. And then there was a 6th phantom member named Kuroko. And as the namesake of the anime, this is all about Kuroko. So after middle school, they all split up and went to completely different schools with the goal to see who is the strongest of the strongest. Whoever wins amongst the 5 or the 6 of them technically will be the strongest of the Generation Miracles, because they never got to compete against each other in middle school. And then so the basic story is Kuroko enrolling in a school called Seirin and joining that team, and it's the most underdog team of all the teams that the Generation Miracles have joined. But he's also joined, someone who also joins the team is Kagami, who has the potential to reach the power of the Generation of Miracles. And then that's where our story pretty much begins. Now, Kuroko is a series that we talked about a lot on this show many, many, many times. I think we covered it once during the recap, and then we stopped midway through in that season. And it's not a secret that both Spencer and I completely love that show. But when I talk about sports anime, I always have a benchmark. And the benchmark is iShield 21. Not the anime. The anime was garbage, but the manga. iShield 21, the manga, is not only my favorite manga series of all time, but it's also the best sports series I've ever read. And so far, like spoilers, I guess, nothing has actually gotten close to that. There have been some good series. For example, Ace of Diamond is fantastic. Baby Steps, I absolutely love. But they're nowhere near the kind of level that iShield 21 was at. But then there's Kuroko. And I've often touted Kuroko as the second best sports anime out there. Or sports series out there. I guess I can't just throw anime around, considering I don't count iShield's anime as any good. And then there's a good reason for that. So this is going to be a spoiler-filled review. There is no spoiler-free zone here, so to speak. So If you don't want any spoilers, but you want to know my verdict, just go ahead and click the timestamp in the description, and it'll take you to where I give the anime a score and give my reasoning, and that will not have any plot details or anything like that. And the reason I'm going to be talking about spoilers is because it's hard to talk about character development stuff when you don't talk about if you don't talk about their wins and their losses, because that's where the major character development happens in most sports series. So, okay, this warning, spoilers begin now. Okay, so I actually started watching Kuroko maybe when it was 3 episodes from ending season 1. Spencer just texted me in a fury and said, listen, you have to watch this anime. It's amazing. It's so good. And I was like, well, why not? Might as well give it a shot. Spencer generally has good taste. He knows what I like. So I watched the first episode, and man, it was not good. A little did I know that Kuroko would later have a tradition where the first episode of every season is terrible. And it's held true. Episode 1 of season 1 was crap. Episode 1 of season 2 was crap. Episode 1 of season 3 was probably the worst because it was a clip show. God damn, how they think that was a good idea. But what kept me watching was, beyond the first episode, was 2 things. My 3-episode rule, which most people have, and the fact that Spencer gave it so much praise that it must have been good. It must get good eventually. Well, 3 episodes in, and I had a new reason to keep watching. I was actually really, really interested in the powers. I thought Kuroko's power misdirection was really cool. I thought, I think Kisei had been introduced by then. He probably had. I thought Kisei's power was like the perfect tip of the iceberg in terms of powers. His power was pretty simple to understand, and it was cool, but it wasn't super amazing. You could see how he couldn't like really carry, jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. He couldn't really carry on his own because he didn't have any special skills other than copying other people's powers. But that's why Kisei is a really good first villain, so to speak, of the Generation of Miracles for them to meet, because it shows that, listen, you have a guy who can turn invisible and you have a guy who can copy other people's powers. We're gonna go like fully, we're gonna jump the shark as much as we can. This is gonna be awesome. And the show really delivered with that. So I think I got like really got into it around the first game against Shutoku, and after that it just kicked off, and I caught up to the series in like three days. I was so into it, and the final game in season 1 of Kaijo versus Toho is so good. Oh my god, when Kisei finally passes Awamine in the second to last episode with the music and the Super Saiyan auras they have going on, it's amazing. That moment, like, perfectly, I was already hooked, but then it like sunk its hooks even deeper into me. And it's like, now you belong to us. You are now a Kuroko fan. And given the amount of Kuroko posters I now own, yeah, I am. I really am. So season 1 rather, overall, not very good. Not very well. God damn it. Season 1 wasn't bad. It started off really slow, but it picked up steam pretty quickly. Like, it only took 2 games, if you don't count the black guy daddy game. Papa, that's what they called him. If you don't count that game, then it only really took 2 games for the show to really pick up steam. And it showed like Almina as being the most OP. Hey, this guy is going to be ridiculous. How are we ever going to stop him? We're nowhere near his level. So that was a cool benchmark for them to set. And season 2 is where things really, really picked up. Season 2 is where you could tell season 1 was great. It was really popular. And season 2 showed that popularity in terms of budget. Oh my God. When I first saw that opening, my eyes figuratively melted. It was amazing. Like, the animation wasn't bad by any means before, but it was so much better. It was on a whole nother level now. Now it was like they just threw all the money at Kuroko. It's like, hey, make the best sports anime you possibly can. So, enough about my history with Kuroko. We'll talk more about the seasons when I go more depth into the plot. I want to talk about characters. So, the sports anime in general, when you compare them to other anime, they're not that great. And that's because sports anime generally don't have sports anime don't have good writing in general. The writing is weak compared to more dramatical anime. They don't have as much action as action anime. If you compare, let's say Baby Steps. Baby Steps has better writing though. Okay, let's compare Ace of Diamond. Ace of Diamond doesn't have the greatest writing. It's not that great. The action is kind of slow. If you compare it to an action anime, anyone, I'll pull one out of my butt. Dragon Ball Z. You compare it to Dragon Ball Z, it's not even anywhere close. Dragon Ball Z also has terrible writing and doesn't have very good characters. Well, Vegeta gets better. He's pretty much the only character with depth. But it makes up for it in action. You watch Dragon Ball Z to watch people punch each other and throw ki blasts, and that's what you get, and that's good. In Ace of Diamond, this is why I actually didn't like Ace of Diamond for the longest time. It's because the characters weren't great. Sawamura is not that good of a character. I'm endeared to him now. I mean, we're 2 seasons in. I'm endeared to him now, but I still don't think he's a very good character. I think he's funny and he's good comedic relief, and I like him as a main character, but he's not a good character. Story, Ace of Diamond actually, the props to Ace of Diamond, they actually break the mold when it comes to sports stories. They throw some curveballs in there. But this isn't an Ace of Diamond review. So Kuroko, what does it have going for it? The story isn't that great. It's pretty bread and butter for your sports anime. The characters are kind of shallow. You have Kuroko, who is the goody-goody, who is the team is great. I wanna play basketball because I love it so much, and then my team is everything to me. They're like my family. We have Kagami, who's the discount Awamine, who is like, I'm the best player on the team, I'm the ace, therefore I should be able to do everything. I need to carry this team on my own, on my shoulders. I need to solo carry this team. And then we have the generic captain Hyuga, who is he's the authoritative senpai who doesn't like a lot of backtalk from his Kohai. Teppei joins in later, who is kind of like who's the opposite. He's the kind senpai. We have the coach who puts them through hellish training, which is, as stereotypical as you can get. They didn't make her a girl, though, so that's somewhat different. And I don't know the name of the voice actress, but she's also the same one who plays Yona from Akatsuki no Yona. I love this girl's voice. Any series she's in, she makes it better just because her voice is so adorable. And I don't know, the inflections she uses are fantastic. She's great. So, in terms of characters, Kuroko isn't all that great. They're kind of flat, but and same with the story. The story is very bread and butter. It's not exactly the most complicated thing in the world. So where does Kuroko really shine? Kuroko shines in the one place that sports anime should shine, and that is entertainment. Sports anime, beyond the reason people watch sports in real life it's twofold. One, you have a team that you want to cheer for. You feel a sense of camaraderie with the team. When they win, you feel happy for them. You feel happy. It's like you kind of participated because you're cheering so hard for them and you love them so much. And the second one is you like to actually watch the sport. I don't like basketball. I don't like baseball. I don't like football. Or I don't like watching these sports, rather. Playing them is a whole nother, except for baseball. Baseball is the worst, probably one of the worst sports in the world. But basketball, I can play, sure. I'll have fun playing it. Same with baseball, or not baseball, God. Same with I already said basketball. Same with tennis. I'm losing my mind here. Same with tennis. Same with football. But I don't like watching any of these sports. So this is why what Kuroko does is brilliant. It's they up the entertainment value by giving everybody superpowers. Whenever someone asks me, why do you like Kuroko no Basket so much? I always say, imagine this. You grabbed 10 people from the world of Dragon Ball Z, put them on a basketball court, and you said, go at it. That's what Kuroko is. It's people with superpowers playing basketball, and that's why it's awesome. The entertainment value of Kuroko is amazing, and Aisha was the exact same way. You had a guy who could run the speed of light and eventually turn back time, apparently, and make ghosts of himself. You had a guy who had God reaction time, who could react to everything in like 1.8 seconds or something like that. You had a guy who had the strength of a T-Rex. You had a guy who could throw with the force of a laser. Like, all these cool things. You had guys who were so tall they made a tidal wave. That's one of the things that made Ice Shield so good. And Kuroko is the same thing. You have a guy who can turn invisible. You have a guy who can copy other people. You have a guy who is just really OP and can do flips and stuff in midair. You have a guy who is so tall he makes a tornado when he jumps. You have a guy who can see the future. You have a guy who can make a shot from anywhere on the court and never miss, as long as he's not interrupted in any way. Like, it's just amazing. The kind of powers that they come up with are so entertaining, and the way they use them is even better because they are so incredibly creative with the way they use their powers. It's what gives Kuroko so much entertainment, and this is why Kuroko is so good. Despite its terrible story, despite its boring and flat characters. It's the, for lack of a better word, the action and the gameplay that they have. And that's where that's what sports series generally need to do to shine. Ace Attorney is a bit different. They really shake up the sports formula. The sports formula is basically team fights stronger team. Main character team is always underdog. They beat the stronger team and then they teach them a lesson and they make them better people, pretty much. And they always go to win the tournament. They lose one and they go to win one. One thing about Ace of Diamond, which was incredible, is that they lost a tournament and then they lost all the third years. All the characters you grew to love suddenly disappeared. That's what, spoilers, I guess, for Ace of Diamond. That's what was great about, or what is great about Ace of Diamond, is that they throw these curveballs at you that you don't really expect. Although, to be honest, now that we're probably not even halfway into season 2, but now that we're a good way into season 2, it's starting to become a bit more predictable with its unpredictability. In that when you see like a plot point start to form, you're like, normally this would happen, but Ace would do the opposite, so probably the opposite's going to happen, and it does. Like in last few weeks when, oh man, I have Kuroko on my mind, so I can't really remember team names. When Ajun's team was supposed to face May's team, and the May's team was defeated, that was pretty obvious that they were going to be defeated because it's just something that Ace of Diamond does. Kuroko doesn't do that. Kuroko's story is very much go, 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 go. It's game, win, 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 win. Yeah, we're gonna have highlights. Someone's most likely gonna unlock a new power in a game, and then we win and we go on. And that's what it was like from season 2 and beyond. All of their losses were in the first season. I don't think they dropped a single game in seasons 2 and 3. They had like one tie against Shutoku, the second game, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was in season 2 and 3. So Kuroko, I'm rambling a bit here, but let's rewind here. What Kuroko does right is that it ups the entertainment value of the sport itself by having really flashy things happen on screen, giving the players superpowers, and they do the classic, have the audience explain whatever's going on in case someone doesn't understand basketball. And for someone like me who doesn't know anything about basketball, it's a good thing. When Naomina would when he would get fouled while making a shot, and they have the audience explain what that meant. It's good. It doesn't flow that well sometimes. Like sometimes it just doesn't make any sense, but for the most part, it worked. So going back to the seasons, I said season 1 wasn't very good in the first little bit, and then it started picking up steam. Season 1 had a great leave-off point where Kaijo lost against Toho. And you see the potential. You see that Kisei is actually going to be really strong. And you see that Aomine isn't undefeatable. You see cracks in the armor. And then we head into season 2. And the season 2 had, again, a terrible, terrible beginning. But then it picked it up. Later. And by beginning, I just mean the first episode. The first episode was really bad of season 2. So in season 2, we have the Toho game. That's the major game of season 2, because they are the undefeatable gods. And the Kuroko really jumps the shark in season 2, in that they unleash the zone. And I just want to say that the zone, you can Japaneseify it as much as you want. You can put as much English as you want on it. The zone will never sound cool. It always sounds so lame. And I just laugh. I laugh every time I hear it. I mean, it's cool when the stuff is happening on the screen, but the name isn't that great. I don't know. Maybe if they called it... No, even if they said Zonu or Zono, it wouldn't really work all that well. Regardless, so... They basically introduce a Super Saiyan mechanic where the Generation Miracles players are able to basically achieve their full power. I think the wording in the show is something like they block off any excess information that they don't need to play the game, and they play to the absolute best of their current abilities. So, I mean, the zone is kind of a thing in real life. Like you know it when you feel it. It's just this like... this form of concentration that you get. It happens sometimes when you play video games. It happens when you're doing homework or something or working on a project. It's when you're just so focused and you're so good at what you're doing right now. You're playing or you're working to the best of your ability. And they translate this into the game or into the show with them basically just becoming even faster, even stronger, being able to do things they could never do before. For example, one of the main characters in Seirin Kagami can do his ultimate move, Meteor Jam, is where he throws the basketball into the hoop while in midair doing his air walking. That's another thing. Kagami's power is being able to jump very high. And in the zone, he can do it even higher. Now that I think about it, some of the powers really do sound lame. Like, Kisa's copying power sounds kind of crap. But the way they implement it's really nice. And Kagami's power of jumping really high also sounds crap. But the way they exaggerate it, like, he can jump from pretty much the paint to the net, or to the hoop. Not the net. And that's that's anime, right? That's not real life. It's anime. That's what makes it good, is that the exaggeration in this anime is what makes it entertaining. And like I said before, entertaining is what you really want from any anime whatsoever. I said it when talking about, I don't know, I think it might have been Fate's Stay. No, it was Log Horizon Season 2. I said it when talking about Log Horizon Season 2 that the greatest sin that an anime can commit is to not be entertaining, is that it could be boring. And that's even doubly so basically for sports anime, because entertainment is all they can do. They can't do good story. Even though Ace Diamond throws curveballs, the story isn't that great. They can't do great characters. If I had to think of an example, in terms of sports anime, well, Ice Shield has better characters than probably any other sports series ever. But even then, it doesn't. If it relies only on its characters, Ice Shield would fall flat on its face. Therefore, it has to be entertaining through its action or its gameplay. And that's where Kuroko really does shine. And through its exaggeration. And aside from that, so looking back on the story again, season 1, they have wins and they have losses. The season 1 ends, like I said, on a good point, in that they're basically in training mode after they lost to Alamina's team. And it's like, we have this benchmark, we have to get better. I know I'm going back and forth here, but bear with me. We have to get better. And then season 2 rode the hype of that and came in like really, really, really hyped up. It did it right. Like, season 2 came out not too long after. It's not pulling an Attack on Titan. Like, Attack on Titan hype has died out. Everybody knows Attack on Titan was great. Everybody knows that the next season will be good. But the hype that Titan had is gone. They can't ride that wave anymore. If they release season 2 of Attack on Titan, maybe 1 year ago at the latest, it would get significantly more popularity and coverage than it will if they release it next summer or the summer after that. It's just going to get worse and worse. The hype's died, so now all you're going to get is disinterested viewers as time goes on. But Kuroko season 2 came out at a great time, and the season 3 even better. I think we only had to wait like one season for season 3, which was good, because season 2 ended in probably one of the worst ways ever. It ended with like 2 games left in the entire series, and it's like, okay, we have 2 games left. You have to wait. You have to wait 3, 4, 5 months for it to come out. What the hell? You can't do that to us. But that's, how Kuroko gets you, as it's synced into you once it does that to you, right? Season 2 had, even though it had a bad ending, season 2 was probably the best season Kuroko's had. It was just that the games in season 2 were just absolutely phenomenal. In fact, whenever I wanted to rewatch Kuroko episodes, I would rewatch from the season 2. And that's because the games in season 2 had the most development and it had the most hype, I guess. So the big one that they play is against Toho, Seirin versus Aomina, basically. And Aomina, like I said, was the benchmark. He was the strongest. How are you going to defeat him? You can't. That game is the most back and forth game, probably, other than the finale. It is probably the most back and forth game, just because, they get ahead, and they would always make progress. But in the end, Aomina was always better. Aomine, like, it wouldn't matter if he did something clever because Aomine would still beat you because he's Aomine. His captain would always say Aomine is the best, so it doesn't matter. And it was true. No matter what you would do, Aomine would come back. He would actually get stronger. Hey, guess what? He hasn't been playing to the best of his abilities because no one's ever challenged him. Now that you're challenging him, he's going to get even stronger. That's where they introduced Kuroko's overflow, his final form, as they call it. That was one of the greatest moments in Kuroko. Yeah, it's like top 5. It's so good. That moment actually is what got a friend of mine to watch Kuroko. I was watching it in school, in class, as you do. And a friend of mine was looking over my shoulder and he's like, "Oh, what's this?" I'm like, "Oh, it's just a basketball anime. It's really good." He's like, whatever. Shared a headphone with him. He was watching along, kind of haphazardly. And then Overflow kicks in and just like that, he's like, "What? That guy just disappeared. What the hell just happened?" And then he was completely into it. We watched up to then together, like the entire Toho game, what we had. And he was completely into it. That was on a Friday. By Monday, the next day, he had caught up to Kuroko. He told me, like, it's just so good. I had to watch it. That was just so cool. Like, the guy who can shoot from across the map is really sweet. I love the guy. But, yeah, it's just the entertainment value that Kuroko provides. And Season 2 was the best. But aside from the Aomine game, the only other game we really had was Murasaki Baro game, the only other game that mattered anyway. And this game was great. So the Aomine game, the Toho game, was the game where the game that had the most development for Kagami. That's where Kagami unlocked his animal instincts. That's the game where Kagami learned to use his left hand, apparently. That's the game where Kagami unlocked the zone. In the Murasaki Baro game, the Yosen game, that's where Kuroko had the most development in terms of powers. So that's where Kuroko he used his vanishing shot for the first time. And then he would use that in coordination with his drive. And Kagami also unlocked his Meteor Jam in that game. That game was also incredible. Those two games are two of the best. Again, only dwarfed by the finale, by the final game in the series. But those two games are impeccable. They eclipse Season 1. They eclipse most of Season 3. Just phenomenal. And that is why it made so many people mad when Kuroko Season 2 ended. And they ended with the promise of, hey, yeah, we're not going to show you what Akashi can do yet. The last member of the Generation of Miracles, nobody knows his power. We're not going to tell you yet. You got to wait 4 months. But then Season 3 came out not too long after. It was maybe a season later. It wasn't that bad. And then, so now we're in Season 3. And the last episode aired a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago. And so it was really cool in that they made Akashi into a really dominating villain. Aomine as a villain was just a guy whose natural talent was so good, you couldn't actually just keep up. But like you had hope. Like, maybe if we try this, we could score. Yeah, we can do this and maybe we'll score. But Akashi was the villain that drowned your hope in a puddle. He is the kind of villain that just beats you down and he likes to crush his enemies. He doesn't like to beat them. He likes to completely destroy them and show that he really is the emperor, and that winning is not just something that he deserves. It's his right to attain. Victory is a right to him because he's an emperor. Akashi's a great villain, and the power that he gets is the power to see the future, which is awesome. And the way he uses it's really creative. He uses it to basically predict where people are going to move and make fast cuts to have them topple over themselves. That is really cool. Along with the fact that his team is actually really cool too. There's also a game with the Kisa game with Haizaki. I don't know, depending on how much you listen to the podcast, you might remember that Kisa is my favorite character in the show, just because I really like his personality, and he has the lamest, air quotes, power, but I like the way he makes use of it, and then he shows off his perfect copy, which is admittedly really cool. Haizaki was a really boring, crappy villain. He went down to one punch from Aomine. Like, come on, man. But it led to the Kisa game, which honestly was kind of a disappointment. I don't know why, but the Kisa game was the only game in the series that I never felt like Seirin was ever threatened. Like, no matter what happened, even if something bad happened to them, I always felt like it doesn't matter, Seirin's going to win anyway. And I know that Kuroko follows the basketball formula like to a T, or the sports anime formula to a T, and therefore it's pretty easy to see which games Seirin will win. Seirin will win and which games they won't. But even so, it just never felt like much of a threat. And that's probably because Kisa just wasn't really in the game for much of it. He was like in it for the beginning and he was in it for the end, and the entire middle was nothing. And that's probably why I didn't really like the game, is because my favorite character sat on a bench and did absolutely nothing. So I think it was kind of a wash. But the Shutoku game against Akashi game, that was phenomenal. Akashi's quick, which was pretty much just the same thing from Haikyuu, but just a lot more flashy. That was amazing. And then we have our stage set for the final game in Season 3, which was Rakuzan versus Seirin, Kuroko versus Akashi. And like, Akashi is the villain. He's the one who rounded up the generation of miracles, and the only reason pretty much that he could control them is that he was evil, more or less. He was domineering. And like, he is and was undefeated at the time of this game. And that's a huge thing. Like, he had never lost, and therefore, and because victory was his right, he will never lose. And that was the big thing about him coming in. And the game was just phenomenal. It was probably as back and forth as the second Almina game, if not more so. But the reason that this game is so good, and why it's hands down the best game in the anime, is because it actually gives them a crushing blow. That Seirin at one point is completely and totally defeated, that they can't win. It's over. You can't do anything anymore. Just because their hope has been completely extinguished. And then they have, I mean, it was cheesy, where all their old opponents are like, you gotta win, and they cheer for him, and then Kuroko makes that really creepy face to Ogiwara-kun. That's a face of a rapist, man. It's not the face of a basketball player. But Kuroko's creepy ass face aside, it was cheesy, but I really liked the spin they did around the crew, if only because the production value was really, really good. And then they have Kagami's. Oh my god. Okay. I can't believe I was gonna skip over this. So the zone, the members who go into the zone of the Generation Miracles include, well, Kagami, who's not part of the Generation Miracles, but he might as well be. Aomine. Murasaki Bara. Kisa never goes because he has perfect copy, and I guess combining the two would be OP, which is dumb. And then Akashi. Oh my god, Akashi Zone. Holy shit, was it cool. That is okay, the entire Rakuzan game is a highlight reel. Like it's just so cool. When you look up Kuroko clips on YouTube, right? You see some from the Almina game. You see the overflow. You see Kagami and Almina going in the zone for the first time. That's cool. You see Almina doing meteor dunk against Murasaki Bara, and then you see like 8 or 9 clips from the Rakuzan game. Kagami Zone versus Akashi's Emperor Eye. Kagami's first meteor jam over Akashi. God, what's that second Kuroko guy's name? Haizaki? No, it's not Haizaki. It's with an M. Whatever. Kuroko number 3, I guess, technically. The older Kuroko. When he shows up for the first time, he uses misdirection. Which, by the way, this is why you should never watch... Like, this is why you should never watch an opening of an anime. Like, listen to it, which is cool. They make it so damn obvious about what's going to happen. Like, in the Season 2 opening, you saw Kuroko doing Vanishing Shot. In the opening. That's a spoiler. That's a really big one too. It wasn't expected at all. And then in the Season 3 opening, they show Haizaki, and he looks just like Kuroko. The way he stands is just like Kuroko. His eyes are almost the same as Kuroko's. Like, come on. How much of a spoiler is that? The instant I saw him in the opening, I was like, yep, he has Kuroko's power. He has misdirection. And lo and behold, a few episodes later, they show him using misdirection. But whatever, regardless. That was a big highlight. Hyuga shooting threes like no tomorrow against, I don't actually remember the whatever Chun's name. Leo? Was it Leo? Rayo. It was Rayone. Okay. Rayone, Hyuga's war against Rayone was really cool with his 3 types of shots versus his barrier jumper. And the fact that he learned shooting from watching Rayo, that was really cool. Honestly, the biggest disappointment, now that I think about it, in Rakuzan's team was 3-finger or 5-finger lightning hair guy. He sucked. All he did was dribble hard from one hand to the other. And then he, like, the impact from the dribble was so strong that he couldn't actually move very fast afterwards. His power sucked. He was the worst. Like, I understand that he is like the yase in him, and that's what makes him like really good because he can react like on a dime. But regardless, he was shit. Like, you couldn't really find anyone stronger than him. And then you got the muscle guy, which, fine, fair enough. He's got muscle, but what kind of, like, okay. So thinking about it, in the 3rd year of middle school, the Generation Miracles were in the 3rd year, and this is judging on the flashback episode, or the flashback arc. They said they had no one to challenge them anymore, but then they mentioned the Uncrowned Kings. So the Uncrowned Kings are at least 1 year older than them. So, assuming that the muscle guy, who is an Uncrowned King, is at least 1 year older than Kuroko, who had just entered high school, who's 15 years old. So Uncrowned King is 16 years old. How the hell are you that tall? Are you that bearded and that black as a Japanese 16-year-old? Like, I've seen some dark Japanese dudes, but I have never... Like, he is black. That guy is black, dude. He's as black as dicks. How the hell did he get into a Japanese high school? He's 40. That guy is a professional NBA 40-year-old. How the hell did he get into a Japanese high school? That's what I want to know. So the illegal immigration of black people to Japan aside... aside from that, so I was talking about highlight clips. The last game is just unbelievably full of highlight clips, and I have to talk about, of course, the ending, which. Okay, so when Aomine talks about the door, the second door in the zone, and then they show the guy standing in front. And then, so there are 2 obvious ways to go about it. When I was thinking about this is the way my mind works. Okay, the obvious writing one is that it's yourself. The guy standing in the door, it's yourself. You have to get past your own ego or something like that to open the door. But then I saw the guy, and he was really short. And I'm like, that's Kuroko. That guy's too short to be anybody other than Kuroko. And what do you know? 2 or 3 episodes later, it's revealed to be Kuroko. That's what I mean by when I say the story isn't that good. It's very predictable. That was already the second idea in my head, though, that Kuroko is he's the light. He is the guy who's bringing all the old Generation Miracles guys, like, into the good when they were bad and they were selfish and they were evil or whatever. And then Kuroko brings them back to the side of good and more team-oriented play or whatever. So that was pretty obvious, but oh my god. Okay, the zone beyond the zone, the direct drive zone, which is a stupid name. The zone already itself is a stupid name, so granted, this is, all these names are better than Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. Okay? Akira Toriyama, I know you're old. All right, you're aging mangaka. I understand that. I understand that you made, great series. I love Dragon Ball Z, man. Dragon Ball was great. GT you didn't have anything to do with. That's good. But come on, like, really, Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. What the hell, dude? How? How do you get that uncreative? Like, you couldn't just call it Ultra Saiyan or something like that? Something cooler than Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan? Like, when you play Xenoverse, it's abbreviated to SSGSS. That's like an esports team name. It's not a name for a form. Come on, man. So Direct Drive Zone, man, they turned up the animation to an 11 for this. Oh my god. I said it when I was talking about the season 2 that the animation was phenomenal. And the season 3, it was about the same level. It probably got a bit better, but it was about the same level as season 2. And then it really shows where they threw their money. And I'm glad they did it here. The Direct Drive Zone was unbelievably beautiful to look at. It is the best Kuroko's ever looked. It matches like Fate Stay Night levels of quality in animation. And Fate Stay Night, if you remember Okay, I bashed on that series. I said some unkind things. If you remember the unkind words I said, the one bit of praise I did give that I did give that series is that its animation and the animation, the quality, the production value was top notch. It was just so good. Too bad it was, had nothing else going for it. Porcelain doll, not a shell. But man, with Kuroko, they almost reached that level if they didn't reach it. Like, it was just so beautiful. And I love that they do it. They would do the 300 style slow-mo and they go really fast, but they would replay it a bunch of times so you would know exactly what happened. And they did something kind of similar in season 2. It was like a really quick cutaway where Kuroko was past the ball and then he insta-passed it to the hoop, and then Kagami was there, and then Kagami dunked it. That was really cool. It was really fast. It happened over the span of like 3 seconds. It's kind of like that, but for every play that they did in the direct drive zone, and that's what made it even better. That's what made it really, really, really cool. So, I haven't talked too much about the story, or maybe I have. I don't feel like I have, but I'm going to talk more about the ending. So the ending. The ending after the final game, Seirin wins. It was actually really close. Like, it was butthole clenching. This is an intense game, and I got to give it credit for that. It's the final episode, and in like the first 3 minutes, I was feeling tense. I was on the edge of my seat. I didn't feel like Seirin would win for sure. I feel like it could have gone in either way, since Akashi had already pretty much redeemed himself. He pretty much deserved victory for bringing his old self back and eliminating evil Akashi. But Seirin wins. The third years are being sent off in every team. Every team's like, well, what do we do now? We lost a bunch of third years. Shutoku had a lot of comedy moments. Kasamatsu from Kaijo is studying. I don't know why they gave Mr. Can't Speak in full syllables or full words the title of captain when he literally cannot speak. Like, come on, give it to someone who can at least talk. Maybe he has more authority, sure. But, like, he can't talk. How is he going to lead people when he can't speak? I like, it's cheesy, but I like the cut to each school and showing what each team is doing. Of course, mostly focusing on the Generation Miracles. Kuroko and the Ogiwara-kun story, I really don't care about. I'm glad they didn't get too much screen time after the flashback. I absolutely love what they did with Aomine and how they handle him. Give me back my Mai-chan. Come to practice or we'll burn her. Oh my god, that's great. I still I know she's not supposed to be in love with him, but every movement and vibe I get from Momo is that she's in love with Aomine. And you can be like, yeah, he's the childhood friend, blah 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 blah. But let's compare Aomine to Mr. Kuroko here. Aomine was and still is the bad boy. He is super tall, super muscular, extremely athletic, and one of the best players in Japan. Kuroko is this probably below average height, scrawny guy who's pretty much reached his physical peak at the age of 16. He can disappear, which is pretty cool. He can turn into a ghost. But that's about it. He can shoot sometimes, and he's good at passing. That's all he's got going for him. Oh, I guess, he is the winner of Japan, so he's got that going for him, which is nice. But let's be honest here. Aside from good looks and personality stuff, they're gonna get together. I see no plausible way that Aomine does not get with Momoi, just for the sake that they've been together so long. You're winning with someone for that long, love blossoms. It comes out. All right, this is Dr. Raj talking about love. When you're with someone for that long, love is gonna come out one way or another. So they do the cuts to everybody in every other team. Murasaki Bara is getting along with his team a bit better, giving them cheap ass candy. Aomine is participating in practice because he doesn't want Mai-chan to be burned. Kise wants to beat Seirin, so he's motivated. Shutoku's getting a cute little girl to join the basketball team, which doesn't really make any sense. I guess she'll be a manager or something like that. Rakuzan Akashi thanked Kuroko number 3 for his service in the team, and then he's I really like that one. It shows that Akashi was evil, he was overbearing, but man did he make basketball interesting, because you go from a pretty good team to an amazing team from this dude's leadership skills alone. and this is not like even including his ridiculous powers, just from leadership and the way he can reel people in and the way he can bring out, or the way he can force them to pretty much bring out their own potential is really cool. And despite the cheese and the cliche-ness, I really did enjoy the ending where it's just a pan shot to Kuroko's locker, which opens via ghost, because no gust of wind could actually open that from that angle that defies all anime physics. So the ghost of Christmas Past opens his locker, and you see the photo of Saren, and I absolutely love that photo, where everybody's laughing, everybody's crying, they're just basking in their own victory, being the number one in Japan, being the champions. That photo is amazing, and I love the photo that he puts next to it as well, of him and his Teiko team, where nobody's really smiling, but you can feel the camaraderie, if not the love. But you can tell that Kuroko really does cherish the time he spent with his team in Teiko, just as much as he cherishes the time he spends with his team in Saren. And then Kyoshi leaves with Alex to go get surgery, and then there's a promise that he might come back. And well, there is the possibility that he'll be back. She says, "Oh, your rehabilitation will be quick." God knows how long rehabilitation really takes. He has to recover from his surgery first, and God knows how long that's going to take either. If Kyoshi was if Kyoshi was a first year, I'd be like, yeah, he'll be back. But as a second year, he might make it for the last half of his final year, maybe. But things aren't looking up. I know that Kuroko is getting a sequel series, at least in terms of manga. I read about it a few months ago that it's getting a sequel, which is cool because I'd like more to be adapted into anime. That'd be really great. The flashback arc, honestly, is one of the best arcs that Kuroko's ever had, story-wise. My voice just totally became weird there. Story-wise, it was one of the best arcs that Kuroko had, and although it was kind of weird because every Generation Miracles member had baby faces, but they sounded the exact same. It worked for Kuroko, but it was really jarring for Aomine and Midorima. Those two especially, I guess, because they have really deep voices. Seeing those voices on the face of what is supposed to be like a 14-year-old or a 12 to 14-year-old is freaking weird, man. Pretty disturbing. So I do hope that Kuroko gets another season of anime. Even if the manga doesn't get adapted, that's fine. I'll read it because, man, I really loved Kuroko. So, if you click the timestamp at the bottom of the description, or in the description rather, this is where I give my verdict. My spoiler-free verdict. So, I'm going to give this 2 ratings. I'm going to give it a rating in relevance to other sports anime. So, in relevance to how I feel about Ace of Diamond, Baby Steps, and iShield 21. And then I'm going to give it a rating in the overall world universe of anime. Obviously, one will be higher than the other, given that sports anime aren't exactly the best anime in the world. So, like I said before, my benchmark for all anime, or for all sports series, is iShield 21. Kuroko has a very bland story. It's very predictable. You almost always know where it's going to go. Kuroko's characters aren't very deep. It's shonen, it's all about the friendship and the fighting spirit, and you gotta do your best for your nakama, and then you'll win through friendship and hard work. Kuroko's entertainment value, its action, so to speak, is phenomenal. It's so good. Kuroko is the reason I love Kuroko so much. The reason Spencer loved Kuroko so much. The reason all my friends love Kuroko so much is because it gets you excited. It gets you on the edge of your seat. You're pumping your arms, you're yelling in joy because holy crap, that guy just jumped 30 feet in the air and he threw a basketball at that. Oh my god, that guy just became invisible. Oh my god, that guy can see the future. Holy crap, that guy just shot a basketball from across the court and it went in. Oh, like all these things that just get you really, really excited about, well, a sport that I don't care about. That's what Kuroko does well. That's what Kuroko does great, and that's what makes Kuroko fantastic. It's the fact that it just gets this entertainment right. It's the fact that it gets its animation right. It's the fact that it just gets this excitement in you. And that's something that all sports anime should vie for. I know when I watch iShield 20, or not iShield 21, I know when I watch Ace of Diamond, the feeling of excitement isn't very frequent. It's more comedy for Ace of Diamond for me. But then the few episodes where I do get that excitement is good. Like, that's when I'm like, oh man, I really love this anime. More than when Ajun says something stupid or yells yosh, 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 after he strikes somebody out. So Kuroko's no basketball. Kuroko's basketball. In relevance to other sports series, iShield 21's a 10 out of 10 in terms of sports series. I love iShield 21. It is so good. Kuroko's basketball, in terms of other sports anime, is an 8 out of 10. It is fantastic. From beginning, mostly after like the third game, from third game on in first season to the final episode, Kuroko did not fail to get me excited. I looked forward to every game. I looked forward to seeing new characters. I looked forward to seeing like all the new powers we would get. I looked forward to seeing how Generation Miracle's characters interacted with one another. I looked forward to seeing what their relationships were like with one another. I remember I was hyped as hell for Akashi. Like I'm pretty sure I talked about this before on the podcast. My reasoning for Akashi and why I got so hyped for him was that the Generation Miracles are powerful. They are so strong. And they have powerful personalities too. Look at Aomine. Look at Midorima. Look at Murasaki Bara. The kind of person you have to be to rein those people under you, to control them, you have to either be like this complete hard ass that like everybody has respect for some reason, or you have to have an incredible power that causes people to respect you and all. And that's why I was so hyped for Akashi, because I wanted to see what kind of man could control the other Generation Miracles members. So in relevance to sports anime overall, Kuroko no Basket gets an 8 out of 10. It's absolutely phenomenal. In relevance to anime overall, again, my benchmark for sports anime, iShield 21, I would say it's about a 7.5 in terms of overall anime. So Kuroko, I would give a 7. I feel like a 6.5 is too low for a series this good. And for the amount of excitement and the amount of posters I bought, I feel like this anime definitely deserves at least a 7. It's great entertainment value. You're not going to get the greatest story from it. You're not going to get the greatest characters from it. Watching this isn't going to make you cry. It's not going to change your life or anything. But man, it's going to get you off your seat. It's going to get you yelling. It's going to get you pumping your arms. And it's going to get you just so excited over, even if you don't like this sport like I do. I don't really like basketball, but man, did I love watching it. Kuroko, during the time that this podcast was on hiatus, Kuroko was one of 2 anime, the other being Baby Steps, that I looked forward to every single week. That was the anime that I wanted to watch the most. And granted, during the hiatus, I didn't watch much anime. Like I watched maybe 3 or 4 series in total of the spring season, ongoing. But like Kuroko, I just every week, every Saturday, I would get off work at like 9 o'clock and 9 in the night, and I would like sit down, I'd get my dinner, and I'd be really excited to watch some basketball. And that's why Kuroko gets an 8 out of 10. As well as a 7 out of 10, depending on what scale you're looking at. So, that is my review of Kuroko's basketball. The way this podcast is going to run is I want to do releases every Friday. That is my aim. So, until further notice, until maybe my schedule shifts in terms of work, Friday releases are where it's at. Technically, I know this is not going to be released on Friday because, well, I'm looking at the time right now, and given the time it's going to take for this podcast to process on YouTube, definitely not going to make the Friday mark. So my apologies for having the first podcast be late. Oh boy, off to a great start, aren't we? But so like I said before, Friday releases much more focused on reviews. So next week, what I am going to review is The Eden of Grisaya. So if you remember, I really liked the Fruit of Grisaya. I thought the anime was really good. It actually got me to play the VN, which I absolutely loved. I finished it now. I guess, yeah, I'm pretty sure I 100%ed it. It doesn't have any achievements. It's kind of hard to tell, but it was a VN that I absolutely really, really enjoyed. And so I'm looking forward to reviewing the second anime. I know that there's a all ages version of the other 2 VNs coming out, but I want to play them the way they were made. I don't like playing censored games. I like playing them the way they were meant to be played. If your game was meant to be played with a lot of gore or a lot of boobs or whatever, I want to play it the way that you intended it, But I don't know. There might be a patch for that. That'd be cool. I really hope there is. Anyway, that's the end of this episode of J&B. It's good to be back. Oh man, it's good to be back. I missed all of you guys. I love reading all of your comments on YouTube and Twitter. Reading all the comments about you guys being excited for the return of the podcast made me feel really good. Made me feel like this is the reason I want to come back. I love anime and I love podcasting, but you guys are the reason that I love podcasting. It's because I get to talk to you guys and I get to see how excited you guys get about anime, and I get to see how excited you guys get to watch me talk about anime. So that's the end of this episode. I'm Roger James Brown. I'll see you guys next week with a review of Eden and Grisaya.